Hey everyone, Internet PCS book reader here. Today I want to talk about Berserk Conviction arc by Kentaro Miura. On my second video of Berserk, where I go through the Golden Age arc, I call it the first transformation of Berserk, and I don't go through a lot of its lore so I can focus more on Guts' character writing. It's because Berserk is one of those series that if you miss what makes Guts such a well-written character, you miss the entire point of the story. We see this many times in other series that is adapted or remade. Take for example the latest attempt at adapting Avatar The Last Airbender by Netflix. The show got the looks, the costume designs are amazing, the CG is very well done, the world looks great, and for a show with children acting, they actually did a great job not just with the acting, but also with the action choreography. But they miss so much of what makes the character in the story such a well-written characters that even if they fix the many exposition dump, the repetitive dialogue and plot, it will still be a badly written show. That's why I don't talk much about the Four Gods and the world building of Berserk in the Golden Arc, because the main point of the flashback, which Golden Arc is a flashback, is to flesh out Guts as a character, so it's not just edgy for the sake of being edgy. But even then in Golden Arc there are some aspects of the storytelling and the art that is still a little bit too edgy because Miura is still testing how far he can take the story. But as I've said in my review of the Golden Arc, Berserk is a story that is constantly changing and Miura is becoming better at what he do best constantly. Following the Golden Age arc, God has once again lost everything he held dear. And worse, someone that he looked up to is the one that betrays him and took them away from him. Using the Behalit, Griffith has triggered the eclipse and sacrificed almost every single one of his friends to gain power. He joined the four god hands and made the god of the abyss to become the fifth god hand, Femto. Judeo, Gaston, Pippin, almost every single one of the band of Hawk that went to save Griffith was killed because of him. There are only 3 survivors. Rickard because he was away from the group during the event, and Guts and Cascade because the mysterious Skull Knight saved them. But even when they are physically safe, their minds are not. Because of the trauma of the eclipse, Cascade's mind returns back to a child that doesn't even understand basic language. The only one she trusted now is Erika, a girl that was adopted by the blacksmith Gordon, whom Guts met in his journey away from the Band of Hawk. Guts also is not in a much better place. He lost one of his hand and one of his eye, and worse, once again he lost everything. Once again he felt truly alone. Which not really, because Rickard and Casca are still there, but he's also not in the clearest state of mind to make the calmest decision. And even worse still, the sacrificial branding of the eclipse is now on both Guts and Casca. They are now in a state called the interstice that is between the realm of the living and the dead, and as a result constantly attracted darkness to them. Guts will need to deal with ghosts and monsters that haunts him in his life, never having a moment to rest. Meanwhile, Casca have to deal with her sacrificial brand in a different way. She gave birth to a demon child because of what Griffith has done to her, and the demon child protected Casca and tried to pull her to his side. Thankfully, at least for now, they have a safe space in Godot's place because it used to be an elf sanctuary that grants them some protection from the darkness. But because of Casca's state of mind, for her safety, they lock her inside a dungeon inside Godot's place, while Guts left everything and everyone so he can lose his mind in battle. Because of the event, there's an anger in Guts that turns him into the guy we know from the Black Swordsman arc. It is also during this short stay in the mountain that Guts got all his equipment. The cannon arm, the many small throwing knife, and especially the Dragon Slayer, a slab of metal that inspired many titles like Final Fantasy VII and the Dark Souls series. Guts went on a journey to go after Griffith, not only while having to deal with the brand of sacrifice, but also the world of Berserk that has become much worse place now due to the eclipse that Griffith has triggered. That is what we've seen in the Black Swordsman arc, and that is where we're going back after the massive flashback of Golden Era. If I had to describe the start of the Conviction arc, it would be Guts going through his edgy phase, and it is a phase. Those who already read Berserk would know since they've seen his growth as a character, and the phase is understandable, even if it might not be justified after what he's been through. And with that, we go back to right after the Black Swordsman, with Guts continuing his journey to find Griffith with Puck the Elf. They encountered some bandits that kidnapped a girl when Guts was staying under a tree, reminding us once again what kind of world they live in. They helped the girl because Puck got involved, and then they went to her village. We can easily see that some of the adults in the village are trash that beat up their child to feel less powerless, including the father of Jill, the girl that Guts just saved from bandits. Her father, seeing her safe, immediately started beating the girl to avoid feeling insecure. Puck once again got involved, but the village is currently being attacked by elves or what looked like them at first glance. So seeing Puck, they tried to attack them. Guts and Puck escape here. They were hiding in an abandoned space in the village when the elves start attacking. The adults hide from the elves because they are more powerful than them, so the elves are free to kidnap the children. Guts, knowing that they were monsters because of his sacrificial brand started bleeding, attacked them. It is during this fight that we find out that the small monsters are the kidnapped children turned into monsters, and their boss is a friend of Jill who we know had a Behelit when she was a child. It's most likely that the girl made a sacrificial pact using the Behelit to turn into whatever she is. So Guts went to the Misty Village to fight them, knowing that they're the same creature as Griffith. The girl got captured by her friend that has turned into a monster, and Guts and Puck went on their separate way during this pursuit after they got into a fight. Meanwhile, a group of holy army that knew about the prophecy of the Eggs of Darkness is coming through the mountain of corpses that is following Guts everywhere because of his sacrificial brand that attracted monsters. Accompanied by Jill's deadbeat father, they went after Guts. Guts and the fake elves finally confront each other in a long fight. This is where we are shown the aspect of Berserk that is taken from the Vikings Berserker, where Guts is trying to lose his mind in the fight in order to forget every pain he's feeling. But this also shows that the enemies that Guts fight, as unforgivable as they are just victims of the world they were born in. Rosin, at the end of the day, is just a small girl looking for a place to belong, clinging to a small hope from a story about the village of elves. After the long fight, Guts won and immediately need to escape the holy army that has just arrived. Jill begged him to take her away, and in his own awkward way, Guts is trying to help her realize that following him is the worst thing she can do, trying to tell her that this is that kind of world, a world where she will have to struggle no matter where she goes. He showed Jill the things that's been chasing him, the edge of the world where he belonged because of the sacrificial brand. Despite the edginess of Berserk, it is this small moment where we can see the real Guts, a hint to the kind man behind all his anger, and this moment never failed to show how human the story of Berserk is. And it is too bad that just like Avatar adaptation forget about what makes that series so good, sometimes stories that are inspired by Berserk forget about this aspect that make Berserk shine the most. Then we move to another part of the Conviction arc, the Beast of Darkness, where we got to see the form of the desire for revenge that is consuming Guts. Guts passed out exhausted, and thankfully the almighty Puck saved his life. They were about to go back to another journey when the army finally managed to corner him. Guts fight back despite his wound, but he eventually got captured by them. Between the people who follow a made-up god and Guts who've seen the eclipse, communication is just not possible between them. So Guts is kept in prison with one big problem. The monster won't stop approaching him just because he's defenseless. No worries, once again the almighty Puck comes to the rescue. Puck broke the keys to escape and they got Guts' equipment back and a prisoner. So they ran away with Varnish, the supreme commander of the Holy Knight. As the night went on, the darkness kept approaching Guts, caught by the brand, and it was during this moment that the Holy Knight saw things that she never thought possible in the world she lives in. Guts needs to stop to keep the darkness at bay when a scary host reminds him of the worst moment of Eclipse, and he spends the night to fight the darkness back until Varnish's servant comes to pick her up. And that is how we are introduced to Varnish and Serpico, who will become major characters later. Then we move to the end part of Conviction arc. The world and the kingdom has changed since the brand of Hulk existed. People are more familiar with blades and war than warmth and comfort, even more than before. And the incestuous king that caused all of this is on his deathbed. It was during this moment that Casca's demon child came to Guts and showed him a revelation that Casca is in danger once again. Guts went back to find that Casca has gone missing for a while. He tried to blame Rickard, but Rickard chose to stay while Guts escaped from the pain he's feeling, so he got no one to blame but himself. Meanwhile, Goddard the blacksmith has caught the plague, so in his deathbed he talks more frankly to Guts. From his experience, he can immediately tell that Guts is using hate as a crutch to move on. He's using hatred to escape, to run away from having to feel sad because he's scared of the pain, he's scared of breaking down. Meanwhile, during the 2 years Guts spent fighting to dull the pain and shoving everyone away from him, Rickard has grown and built a new bond. It's one of the best scenes on Berserk that is often missed by people who think Berserk is all about being edgy. While it didn't immediately change Guts as a person, he do realize that there are some things that he regrets if he keep avoiding them, so he decided to go after Casca. Here we're going to be introduced to a named antagonist, Father Moscus, whose look really reminded me of Judge Holden from Bolot Meridian, and the places they're in are highly inspired by a combination of Babel Tower and the Witch Trial. A reunion with Casca, Varnish, and Serpico is in order during this arc, and we're also introduced to another major character, Isidro. the kid that looks up to gods. The four god hands once again tried to pull some string behind the scene to trigger another eclipse. Thankfully, unlike back at the eclipse where Guts and Casca lost everything, this time they're not unprepared, separated, alone, and helpless. They had friends that will cover them up when things got too difficult to handle alone. This arc really shows how brutal living in Berserk world is, especially for the lower class and the children, and how they all eventually grow into adults that are bitter to the world, and how easy it is to choose to abandon their humanity like Griffith. But there are always people that did not abandon their humanity. Strong people like Luca, who despite the world she was born in, and despite everything she had to go through, becoming the most mature and kind person who touched the life of the people around her. There are so many good things that make Berserk such a good stories, but if there's one thing that people should not miss when they are inspired by Berserk storytelling, is this. The story about human struggle in a harsh world, about how despite everything, they can still grow as a human being and become more mature and caring despite everything. About an unyielding strength of heart that enables them to support each other and rise to the occasion when others need them. Guts, Puck, Luca, and Isidro are just a few examples of the characters that showed this trait during the Conviction arc. You take this moment of character growth and you end up with a Netflix Avatar adaptation. And if after reading this arc you still think that Berserk is a series that is edgy for the sake of being edgy, you need help. I give Berserk Conviction arc a 5. What do you think? Let me know if I missed anything, so leave your thoughts in the comment below and subscribe to the channel. That's about it. See ya.